My favorite brain part is the frontal lobe. Why is this my favorite part of the brain? Because it is considered the control center, and it has so many things that it's responsible for. And I also find it very interesting how when there's damage to the frontal lobe, it can have many different effects on people depending on what part of the frontal lobe was damaged. Here's a photo of the brain, and in the front that's highlighted in red is the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is responsible for emotions, judgment, intelligence, personality, behavior, self-awareness, body movement control, problem-solving, planning, and speaking. Symptoms of frontal lobe damage are sudden changes in behavior, increased aggression, memory loss, unable to interpret social cues, reduced motor skills, and unable to emphasize with others. Here is a photo of Phineas Gage. Phineas Gage worked on a railroad and was involved in an accident where an iron rod was driven through his head, causing damage to his frontal lobe. After his injury, his personality drastically changed. Because of his accident, scientists had the first evidence that the frontal lobe is involved in personality. Here is a drawing and a photo of Phineas's actual skull, where you can see the rod went straight through his mouth and through the top of his head. Here's a video showing exactly what happened to Phineas Gage when he was at work on the railroad. Going off an earlier portion of my video is how injury to the frontal lobe can affect you. It can cause job and relationship difficulties. It can cause you to be disinhibited, which means you no longer have a filter and will say anything that comes to mind without really thinking about it, and can cause risky behavior. You may be wondering what someone with a frontal lobe injury will do to receive medical help and assistance for their injury. Many psychologists who are trained in brain injuries can help people with frontal lobe injuries relearn how to go about their life socially, since their brain can no longer regulate that and do it itself automatically. Also, rehabilitation professionals such as speech therapists and occupational therapists can help them gain the motor skills and language abilities that they may have lost. I came across this article while doing research about the frontal lobe, and it said that a man had a chunk of his brain go missing. So I was very intrigued because that is not a normal occurrence. So this man was 84 and he was having complications and being very clumsy, and he was no longer able to feel the left side of his body. So they did a CT scan and it looked like there was a missing chunk of his frontal lobe. But when they did an MRI, they realized that the brain wasn't actually gone in that section, but there was an air cavity inside of his skull, and it was causing all of these issues that he had been experiencing. And also, there was a benign bone tumor on the front of his skull, which was also causing these issues, and which was allowing air to be pushed into his skull. So the doctors did a surgery and they got rid of all the air in the skull and repaired the damage to the bone. And then after about 12 weeks, he finally was having all of his regular feelings back and wasn't feeling weak on his left side and being very clumsy anymore, and had a full recovery.